Good evening. My name is Derek Bentley, and once again, I am returning with our second presentation of Speech 105. And the topic that I chose for my informative speech was the taser energy weapon and its effect on law enforcement. The taser, as you may know, has become a popular topic within the last 20 years within law enforcement because it has aided law enforcement in not having to take extraordinary measures oftentimes with the use of lethal force. So to start today's topic, what I want you to do is I want you to use your thinking cap and imagine yourself as a law enforcement officer who has responded to an emotionally disturbed person, and you arrive on scene and the individual is sitting in a chair and there's a weapon right beside them. And the only two tools you have available to you are your communication skills to speak that person off the ledge, as you may say, or lethal force, be it the firearm that's in your holster on your side. And the reason I say this is because 20 to 30 years ago, that's the only two options that they had. But as we've emerged into society and innovations, there has become something that's become available to law enforcement, and that has been identified as a taser energy weapon. And the reason I put you in that scenario is because now law enforcement has the opportunity to bridge the gap between just communicating with someone and trying to talk them out of a situation and lethal force. And prior to the development of the taser energy weapon, a lot of times lethal force was the only option had that subject reached for the weapon that was sitting right beside them. So moving along, the taser energy weapon has become a useful tool in law enforcement, which has limited the instances of deadly force, officer or citizen injury, and contributed to the safe apprehension of combative law violators. Now, I'm accompanied by my family this evening. I have my son, Braden, my wife, Lauren, and my other son, Eli. So I kind of want to do some engagement as we've learned in our class, and I kind of want to ask each one of them what they think a taser is. Braden, what's a taser?
I think it's like this thing where it has where it has two barbs, and when you shoot it, it has electricity coming out of the two barbs, and it'll hook and it'll electrify the thing that you shoot at.
Okay. Lauren?
I know that it makes a very loud sound when used and fired, and it can halt someone from what they're doing or potentially make them quit doing whatever it is they're doing and fall on the ground.
All right, Eli?
What I think it is well, it's two different things. So you could go up to a person and shock them with the thing touching them, or you could shoot out two barbs.
Okay, yeah. So all of those are pretty close. So what Eli was talking about there is you have two options, which would be like a drive stun where you press it into somebody, and then you also do have an application or a cartridge that goes on the end of the taser, and two prongs shoot out of it to subdue the individual who may be combative or reluctant to listen to orders, lawful orders by law enforcement. So the taser energy weapon defined, as you guys kind of gave your own definition, the taser energy weapon is a neuromuscular incapacitation device that disrupts the body's ability to communicate messages from the brain to the muscles, thereby causing temporary NMI. So there in and of itself, with neuromuscular incapacitation, if you break down that series of words, neuro would be referring to the brain, muscular would be referring to the body's muscular system, and incapacitation, which would kind of relate the two together and their inability to communicate with each other when a taser is effectively used against a subject. Less lethal force defined. So less lethal force is that degree of force that is intended to stop an aggressive action, but not designed, intended, or applied with the intent of causing serious bodily harm or death. So less lethal force would be the arena that you would be operating in when using or utilizing a taser. Less lethal force would be that force, say, when we initially brought our scenario to kind of capture some attention there in the beginning, less lethal force would be that step in between when you arrive on scene and you're communicating with the individual and you see a deadly weapon right beside them. That less lethal force may be that small opportunity in between the gap to apprehend a subject without harm to the officer or the individual whom they are called to. So this revolves as we're moving along to the creation of taser. According to Britannica, the taser was first developed in the mid-1970s by an American inventor, Jack Cover. Taser is an acronym for Tom A. Swift Electric Rifle. The Tom Swift books about an inventor of amazing gadgets were a childhood favorite of Cover and is a brand name for the device, which is manufactured by Taser International. During the 1990s, the taser was introduced to law enforcement use as an alternative to deadly force. As of 2011, more than 15,000 law enforcement agencies in the United States use the taser. So I found that very interesting about the Tom A. Swift electric rifle, and that there was books about an inventor of amazing gadgets, because I feel that it was a gadget that derived from maybe someone's imagination that has affected people a great deal in saving lives. So when we're speaking about the application of less than lethal force, I kind of took my own departments, whom I'm employed with by their own policy, and I kind of implemented it in this presentation. Less lethal force may be used by an officer in the performance of his or her duty when it is necessary to preserve the peace, prevent commission of offenses, or prevent suicide or self-inflicting injury. So I would say that would be applicable to our scenario that I was initially presenting at the beginning of this. It can be used when preventing or interrupting a crime or attempted crime against property. It can be used making lawful arrests and searches, overcoming resistance to such arrests and searches, and preventing escapes from custody. It can also be used in self-defense or defense of another against unlawful violence to his or her person. So all of those would be applications in which you can use less than lethal force. Now, taser would not be the only option that's classified as less lethal. We have other options in law enforcement, such as OC spray, which is oleoresin capsicum spray, better known to most individuals as pepper spray, or a baton. So things that would not likely result in death of an individual would be classified as less lethal options. A safe way to gain compliance. I pulled this from Barons.com. The taser has been adopted by police globally and used more than 5 million times in the field, Axon says. The company says it has already saved more than 286,000 people from death or serious injury. I found that number to be staggering. I think it's super impressive that someone developed a piece of equipment that is saving so many lives, and it is very important to the field of law enforcement. And moving on to an article by Axon. Axon has embarked on its own moonshot goal: cut gun-related deaths between police and the public by 50% within 10 years. When achieved, this moonshot goal will result in thousands of lives saved and in strengthened trust between communities and public safety officials. This moonshot goal is certainly lofty, but Axon has already taken the first giant leap towards success, the Taser 10. So the Taser 10 at that time was one of the newer tasers that was being developed. And I think it's important that they included that it strengthened trust between communities and public safety officials, because in our day and age, it is very important to essentially build trust and engagement between our communities, and Taser is one way that that is occurring. And I think it's important in closing that Taser Energy Weapon has established itself as a useful tool in law enforcement, which has limited the instances of deadly force, officer or citizen injury, and contributed to the safe apprehension of law violators. So that last statement there, it just is what it is, that the Taser has been developed into an effective tool for law enforcement. It has saved lives, and although it is not always the only route that we can take, it has certainly become an effective route for law enforcement. I want to thank you for listening to my presentation today. I hope it has indeed been informative. If you have any questions about my presentation, or you want to know more about Taser, please reach out. Thank you so much.